All right, today we're diving into a really fascinating paper that asks a huge question. Why do even the best systems, the ones set up with the purest intentions, so often fail? I mean, this is the central puzzle, right? You've seen this happen. It's everywhere you look, from a local nonprofit that just seems to lose its way, all the way up to global organizations that get completely tangled up in bureaucracy. They're all set up to do good, but somewhere along the line, something goes wrong. They get captured by their funders, they lose sight of their mission, or they just become totally dependent. So what is really going on here? So, when things go wrong, where does your mind go first? Well, usually it's to a pretty familiar lineup of culprits, the usual suspects. Yeah, exactly. When a system fails, we almost always diagnose it as a people problem. We point the finger at a corrupt leader, or we say the governance was weak, or there wasn't enough transparency. It's all about broken trust, or just plain old bad actors. And the solutions seem to follow from there, right? Just find better leaders, create more oversight, and rebuild trust. It all seems to make perfect sense. But here's the big twist in this paper. What if that whole diagnosis is just wrong? What if we've been looking in the completely wrong place this whole time? What if it's not about the people at all? Okay, so this shift in thinking brings us to the core argument of this whole thing, the idea of a hidden control surface. Think of it like a secret set of levers working just beneath the floorboards of our institutions, a mechanism we almost never see. So let's just put it out there plain and simple. The problem isn't moral, it's architectural. It's not about bad people with bad intentions, it's about a bad blueprint for the system itself. A flaw in the hardware, not a bug in the software. And this is the key mechanism, the flaw in the blueprint. It's called the renewal choke point. Just think about it for a second. Most funding, right, grants, budgets, they all work in cycles. And at the end of that cycle, the money runs out, and the organization has to ask for more. That single moment, that's the choke point. And it's where all the power starts to collect. So let's walk through how this actually happens step by step. First, the capital depletes, the money runs out. Suddenly, the organization is totally dependent on whoever's holding the purse strings for the next round. So what do? Well, to survive, they start to adapt their behavior, maybe not to better serve their mission, but to keep the funder happy. And just like that, and this is the crazy part, no one has to be evil here. All the authority starts to pool with the person or the committee who makes that one decision, do we renew them or not? And this is what I find so fascinating. It draws this sharp line between the kind of abuse we're used to thinking about, intentional abuse, and this new idea of architectural abuse. See, intentional abuse needs a villain, someone being malicious. It's obvious. Architectural abuse, that's different. It's sneaky. It can happen even when everyone has the best intentions. It's invisible because it doesn't work through commands. It works through anticipation. The organization just guesses what the funder wants and changes course before they're even asked. It's wild. All right, so if the problem is in the architecture, then the solution has to be architectural too. And that brings us to this really powerful idea, authority without control. And this quote from the paper just nails it. It's not about who has authority. That's not the issue. The real issue is whether they get to wield that authority over and over again at those critical renewal points. That's where all the leverage comes from. So what's the fix? Well, it's a totally different type of system called constitutional capital. And the big idea is actually pretty simple. You make all the tough decisions about how capital gets renewed up front. You bake the authority right into the rules of the system from day one, so it's not being wielded by people day in and day out. And this chart just lays it all out crystal clear. In your standard discretionary system, people, committees, funders, they hold all the power. But in a constitutional system, the rules hold the power. The renewal process is automatic as long as the rules are being followed. And you see the result, right? The system shifts from being dependent and vulnerable to being autonomous and predictable. The key takeaway here is you stop trying to find better people and you start building a better architecture. So the core principle is really this. You aren't getting rid of authority. You can't. You're just moving it. Instead of letting it be a tool people can use every day, you lock it into the system's constitution right from the start. Okay, but no system is perfect, right? Even these really well-designed constitutional systems aren't totally foolproof. So let's talk about how even good systems can go bad. The number one threat is something called constitutional reversion. It's this slow, kind of sneaky process where power starts to leak. It migrates away from the rules and the system and flows right back into the hands of people. The system doesn't dramatically blow up, it just quietly reverts back to the old broken model.
So how does this actually happen? Well, ironically, it almost always starts with good intentions. A crisis hits and someone says, let's just make a temporary exception to the rules. Or a really powerful moral argument comes up that justifies ignoring the system just this once. Or maybe someone offers a special pot of discretionary money to help out. And bam, you've accidentally recreated the exact leverage point the system was built to get rid of. Discretion just has a way of creeping back in.
Okay, so we've looked at the problem, the solution, and even how the solution can fail. So what's the one big idea, the real rule of power that ties this all together? It boils down to this one simple, powerful rule. Power accumulates where renewal is discretionary. That's it. That's the engine. Wherever a person or a group has the power to say yes or no to an organization's future, that is where power will pool. It's almost like a law of physics for institutions.
And that leaves us with a really provocative question to think about. We spend so much energy talking about building trust in our systems. But what if that's actually a distraction? What if the safest, most resilient systems aren't the ones built on trusting the right people, but the ones built on an architecture that makes trust irrelevant?